Uh, Hello, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Máriam Abbas. As have already introduced me. I'm a former ISEG student. I did my master's and my PhD here. So I'm very happy to be here giving this seminar today. I will be sharing some results of a project that we have been developing. I have been coordinating in Mozambique along with ISA, which is School of Agriculture of University of Lisbon, University of Dortmund in Mozambique, and University Lúrio in Niassa in Mozambique. And I will share some of the results, not all of them, and I will try to be a little bit fast. But there is a lot to tell. So just to for contextualization, Mozambique is located in the southeastern coast of Africa. Agriculture is the main sector in Mozambique, but it is mostly dominated by small farmers, usually with 1.5 or 2 hectares of farmland. And agriculture contributes to about 23% of Mozambican GDP and is a source of employment or subsistence for about 67% of the population. 43% of the territory still has natural forests, and there is high biodiversity potential in Mozambique. However, looking at the socioeconomic aspect, poverty has been increasing over the last years. You can see that in 2022, poverty index was 65% of the population, and inequality has been rising as well. On the other hand, Mozambique is also considered or is among the 20th countries with the highest rates of hunger in the world. And about 68% of the population has registered acute food insecurity in the last year. And as you can see, here you can see like chronic malnutrition is mostly predominant in the central and northern areas of Mozambique, which are also areas with high population density and also the areas with the most percentage of the area of these regions dedicated to agriculture. So we have areas with the highest population density dedicated mostly to agriculture, but these are also the regions with the highest rates of food insecurity and also chronic malnutrition, which poses a very challenge to Mozambique. Additionally, we see that in the context of climate change, we expect an expansion of semi-arid areas throughout the country. Currently, Mozambique has mostly a humid climate, and we see that under climate change, the semi-arid areas, which were very restricted or are very restricted, they will expand throughout the whole country. So these will significantly affect biodiversity, but also farmers' decisions regarding what to produce and what farming systems to adopt. And this is one of the modulations that I did in my PhD thesis to try to understand what will be the impact of climate change on farming systems in Mozambique. And as you can see, the tobacco farming system I just brought two, just for example, but mostly the cash crops farming systems will have a tendency to disappear due to climate change, and they will be, so farmers will transition mostly from cash crop farming systems to food crops farming systems. And another thing that I found out in my research was that these farming systems are usually the ones with the highest levels of food security. And the food crops farming systems are the ones with high food insecurity. So we can expect that due to climate change, we will see an increase, as you can see here from the red in the map, we can see an increase in food insecurity in the future if things stay as they are today. So in summary, and I'm not finishing, in summary, what we are seeing is that there is socioeconomic and also an environmental concern. So we see food security increasing, and it will continue to do so in the future. Poverty, inequality also increasing, and at the same time, we expect an increase in aridity. We did not see, but we should have seen, that biodiversity is also decreasing. Okay. Yeah. So biodiversity is also decreasing, and deforestation is increasing. I had some maps here, but they are not here. I don't know why. So. And the problem is that the current policy framework is not accurately addressing these issues. Why is that? We have a very extensive legal and policy framework in Mozambique, but the problem is that we have one-size-fits-all policies. We have conflicts. Most of these policies have a conflict between environmental and social objectives. We have seen also a prioritization of external interests. We can see this, for instance, in this program here, which is the agricultural program, which is promoting priority value chains of crops, which most of them are directed to export. The other thing is that most of these policies, they are not aligned with the local context and local needs. And there is also conflict between the different policies and also lack of coordination between the various departments and sectors. So this leads to loss and restricted access to land, forest resources, which are fundamental to rural livelihoods without adequate compensation, decrease in food production, disruption of rural livelihoods, and also decline in biodiversity. And we have seen this in the two case studies that we consider in the Farsimabi project. So which approach should we adopt then? We propose, of course, the Farsimabi approach, which is an approach that aims to understand the trade-offs and complementarities between poverty reduction, food security, and biodiversity conservation. It also considers in the analysis the local context, tries to establish a link between the national policy framework and the local context. And most important, this approach also recognizes and highlights regional diversity of the country. Okay, I went too far. Because which we called here regionalization, and regionalization, or considering the different the diversity or the regional diversity of the country, is important because we have different local contexts. We can see here, this is the vegetation and ecosystems types in Mozambique are 162. We have these 16 farming systems. We have 10 agroecological regions, and I'm not getting into more of them. So we have different local contexts, and this leads to different problems and conflicts associated, especially with other problems, but here I'm focusing on biodiversity conservation, which will lead then to different solutions. And this is what we did in the Farsimabi project. We call this the socio-ecologically homogeneous regions. And what are these regions? These regions, they are characterized, or they present similar aspects relating to, they're characterized based on geographical location, physical environment, for instance, aridity, climate, natural vegetation, that is the vegetation that is predominant in each region, biodiversity patterns regarding birds and plants, human pressure on ecosystems. Here we analyze the extent of agricultural area in each of these regions, the population density as well. if these there are areas in these regions that has legal protection or not, and also the most important indicators to link with socioeconomic objectives, food insecurity and poverty. And this allows to identify regions with similar characteristics for which similar interventions will be needed, because they have probably similar problems regarding biodiversity conservation. They have similar food insecurity levels and poverty. And so we did this, but we did not stop here because it was necessary to test this theory. Does this really work? So we chose 2 case studies, one in Namuli, which we do here, this green over here, the light green, to represent a case study in which we have high population density, high levels of poverty and food insecurity, and increase in deforestation. And we also chose another case study somewhere over here, to represent an opposite scenario in which we have low population density, we have somehow availability of land for agriculture, and this is also a community conservation area. So there are some activities related with the biodiversity conservation, but then this poses another challenge, which is conflicts between human and wildlife. So we did these 2 case studies to try to understand how to design effective strategies to promote the integration of environmental objectives and also socioeconomic objectives. So the Namuli case study, this is the Namuli, very beautiful. So we are trying to understand this question. And what we did was go there and talk with the communities. We did some workshops at the district level, also to engage with the local stakeholders, the government, NGOs that were operating at the local level, academia, peasants union at the district level. But we also did focus groups with the communities to try to understand the main problems regarding local development, but also biodiversity conservation. Although we were specifically focused, not specific, but very focused on the biodiversity conservation part, when we asked about the problems, we went to 3 communities and they all mentioned these 2: poor access to education and health services and poor access roads. In all communities, this was the first thing that they mentioned. Then they went and mentioned the lack of agricultural inputs, deforestation, low availability of land for agriculture, but these were the main issues that they were concerned about. And just a parenthesis is that when we asked the same questions at the district level, the answers that we got were related to these ones, but they were more broad, like population growth, dependence on agriculture. So these are very specific. They're saying like, we need this. Why? When you talk at the district level or even at the national level, they give you broad problems that you have different or many paths that you can follow to address that issue. So this is one of the benefits of working at the local level. And from the data that we gathered, we did surveys through 106 households. And from this data, we could see that agriculture is the main, they are extremely dependent on agriculture, and it is mostly for consumption. So they don't sell much. And then they have other income, which is mostly related to the production of cachaço, which is a traditional alcoholic beverage. They call it primeirinha or cachaço. And but even the families that were engaged in this activity, they were the ones integrated with the lowest level of income. So they were trying to engage in this activity so they could have some an extra income, so they didn't starve. So this extra activity was actually not a way out of poverty, but it was just a strategy. And we also mapped this. I'll explain this. We characterize all of these farmers in terms of farming systems. I'm not presenting that here. We call it livelihood and farming systems, to try also to link with food insecurity indicators and poverty indicators. All of the households, they had a per capita income below the extreme poverty line, so they were all poor. And when they were aware that they were causing deforestation, but they say, what can we do? We don't have options, because what happens here in Namuli is that it is so densely populated that in the low areas, they have food scarcity. So they are aware of that, and these are some of the passages from the interviews. So they're saying if we had other alternatives or employment, we wouldn't go there because it's very hard to climb up the mountain. And we did, it's very hard. And so one of our, what we could see is that there is no conservation without promoting development. So without improving the living conditions of the local population, the pressure on land and on natural resources will continue, because they depend mostly on these activities for their subsistence. So raising awareness is very good, but it's not enough. We need to provide specific alternatives and measures to improve their living conditions. And this is what we did. After many analyses that I did not present here, we also did a biodiversity inventory to try to link with these farming systems. And based on all the analysis we did, the interviews, the focus groups, and the surveys, we proposed a set of strategies. I'm just bringing some of them. There we have more. And for each of these strategy, we have, or for each of these measures, we also discuss possible ways to do it. So it's not broad as we've seen in some discussion. Also, how to increase land productivity. We recommend to do agronomic work to try to understand what is locally adapted to that location. So we cannot propose some crops for every region. It has to do a agronomic study. Agroforest systems, they have been trying that, so that's an option as well, but there are many other ways to do it. Another one is alternative activities within and outside agriculture. And within, we are talking about the diversification and valorization of agricultural production, which is basically focus on what they are already producing and try to add value to that. For instance, even cachaço, they're not making money out of it because they're selling to each other, and they're selling at very low prices. We discussed this as a possible strategy. We had different opinions, some saying that no, we cannot allow that. But others say, no, I think this is a very good idea. And the community, they were up for it, as long as there were minimal quality standards. It goes in a pretty box with a logo of the Mount Namuli maybe, and they said that they have done that for other traditional beverages and it worked. So maybe this is also a possibility. Other possibilities may be honey, okay, honey production, which they are already doing. There is a local NGO that is doing that, but there is challenges, and we discussed some of the challenge up. Just to, this is mostly on local development, but then there is also a need to create a conservation area. Why? Because the Moracha forest, it's disappearing at a very high rate. And if nothing changes in 5 years, that forest is gone. So there is a huge urgent need to establish a conservation area over there, but it needs to be along with measures to promote local development. And when we asked them, we were very concerned about discussing this with them, but we had to. We cannot propose that to policymakers without having discussing with them. And when we proposed if this would be an option for them, they said yes, of course. If as long as they are promoting, they give us other alternative, and we talk about maybe coffee production, promoting more the honey production, and they were up for it. They say, yes, we are interested in coffee production. So as long as we can produce more on the land that we have, we are okay without going to the forest, because it's a very hard work. It's very difficult to go up there. So these are some of the challenges that we discussed with them. They were the ones pointing out for these challenges. This is regarding the promotion of local agricultural products, which is inside measure 2, which is alternative activities. So they said some challenges about it, and we also discussed solutions with them. This was solutions. Some of them they propose, others we propose and discuss with them which would be the best way to do it. Tourism is also a solution, a measure that we discussed about, but they were extremely concerned with this because the queen, there is a queen there, and they say that the queen takes all of the benefits from the tourism, because there is this traditional ceremony. They have to do it before going up to Mount Namoli, and she's the one taking all the money, and even the guides are her sons. So they're saying that we are okay with promoting tourism, but this cannot continue to happen. And they proposed a solution, which is the creation of 2 tourism centers in the community. One in the community where the queen is based, and one in a different community which is close, and also the rotation of guides, and also the training of new guides. So they and also accommodation in their own houses or in their yards, because they have yards. So maybe even a tent over there. And very, very quick, I'm finishing. This was the other case study, which is Shipanji Shetu, which is a community conservation area. So this is a different context than the one I presented. And in Shipanji Shetu, what happened is that the communities, they recognize the benefits resulting from the conservation area. Some of them is the public facilities, because there is a private company that is managing the community conservation area, and they provided these public facilities, a maternity hospital, health center, school, and everything. And they also support the population, sometimes transporting them to the hospital, transporting the students to a school which is a little bit further, providing school uniforms. They also support services for local economic activities, such as distributions of seeds, some permanent jobs as rangers, as drivers, improvements of the houses. They provide also zinc for the roofs. And they also recognize the value of wildlife. They see like animals are more valuable alive than dead. So they recognize this. But they also express some discontent with the way their life changed because of the creation of the conservation area, because it's an open space with the lions and even the lions, they're not the worst enemy for the farmland, but the small animals are, or elephants or elandis. So there has been destruction of crops by animals, so their production is reducing, and the company is not compensated for these losses. There is losses due to changes in farming systems. Okay, I'm finishing. The changes in farming systems, because they used to produce cassava, which was a very important crop, but now they can't because the animals eat cassava, so it doesn't make sense to produce anymore because they cannot harvest afterwards. And this has created another problem because they have some kind of striga, I think, because there is no intercropping. So this has created other problems. Loss of income from hunting and fishing because they cannot sell. They can sometimes fish, but they can fish, but just for self-consumption, not for selling. They cannot hunt. They only can hunt in festive occasions. They are allowed, or even the company gives them the meat. Loss of human lives. There have been 3 incidents because of a lion attack. And also the benefits are unevenly distributed between the communities and also regarding to gender, because only men can be rangers, so women don't have access to jobs. And this is also very limited. So not many, they all want these jobs because we could see that the ones that are employed, they are, in terms of income, they are better than the other families. So yeah, but this is still a challenge. And also based on the cost benefit analysis that we did, we saw that the benefits from biodiversity conservation, they are not compensating for the costs of the creation of these areas, which is related to reduced farmland, to the devastation of crops by the animals. And this has been also been verified in other studies, for instance, in Chile National Reserve, not by us, but from other studies. And so in the current context, we see that biodiversity conservation is not really aligned with local development. So there is this need to implement some measures in this, based on this approach that we are presenting. I did not bring the measures or the strategies that we designed for Shipangishetu, but some of them include, for instance, the putting fences around the farm, so to reduce the distraction. And this is something that they have been discussing. And yeah, there are other measures. So to conclude, we see that it's not possible to promote biodiversity conservation without promoting local development. Policies, programs or strategies, they should be designed based on the local context, and also successful local interventions. The case of Shipangishetu, it's working somehow, but it needs to be improved. So these are the kind of examples that we can learn from it, and they are very open to learn from this. They cooperated with the project, they gave access, they helped us, and they're very interested in the results of the research. So this is a good sign. And one size fits all policies, they will not work. We have the example of Sustenta. I don't know if you know about this program, which was the flag of the agricultural ministry in Mozambique. It did not work because they defined 3 crops that they will provide inputs, and they defined the mechanization, how it will happen, or giving them tractors. But in areas such as Namuli, tractor is not an option. So if you have these kind of policies, it will not work. The other thing very important is interaction with communities. It's a fundamental step. We cannot design policies without talking with the communities. We are not saying that we have to go to every inch of Mozambique to talk with people, but this is why the socioecologically homogeneous regions work, because we tested these strategies in other areas in the same region, for instance, as the Namuli, and we could see that this strategy could be transferred with some adjustments to other areas within the same region. For areas with similar characteristics, but in other region, it doesn't work very well. So it is still necessary to talk with the communities, but maybe not do all of these like surveys, but maybe with workshops. So there is ways of doing this. And another thing, last, I promise, is that conservation alone will not promote local development. As I said, the benefits from the conservation, they are not compensating for the cost. So conservation, we cannot count with that, that conservation will pay for local development. It will not. So public finance and investment is very important, especially in basic public services. And this work would have not been possible to do without this team here, which we cannot see very well. These are the institutions. This is in the top of Murecha, and this is us going down of Murecha. And thank you so much.